What is the Glimmer of Truth? That's a great question, and it's something I came up with, okay? I got this concept by watching a little indie movie you might have heard of, Rocky. It may seem funny today, but back in the day, back in the 70s, it got an Oscar for a best movie. And watching it now, you think, what were they were drinking? This is not such a great movie after all. Yeah, okay. The peak of the Rocky franchise came much later.
I must break you.
However, as I was thinking about this because I had nothing better to do, I guess, this concept of the Glimmer of Truth popped into my head. Why did this movie work? Why is this so revered? Why was it so successful back then? And why does this happen to other movies? And this is how I got to my Glimmer of Truth theory. You see, if we go to Save the Cat, this book over here, there is a concept there called the Shard of Glass, which means that's the one flaw that makes the main character relatable to us, and they have to resolve this flaw by the end of the movie. That's something that works in every story you know, at least in every story you know and you like. But the Glimmer of Truth is somewhat similar. It's also about something thematic, not part of the plot. However, it's not exactly the same. And it's something that can make a good movie or a story or any narrative into a great one. In simple terms, Glimmer of Truth is providing a small element of something that rings true to a lot of people. An experience they have lived in their lives, something they have felt, something they have experienced, something they fantasize about that will resonate to them. And Rocky, the original movie, is a movie about a washed out boxer that nobody believes in, that he's given one chance for something great. And he's going at it. He's struggling, he is pounding meat in a freezer all day long and running, and people can say he struggled to get there and they can appreciate that. They feel like, I want to be like that, I want to be given a big chance and go for it. And the fact that in the end of the movie, spoiler, he loses is not loses, he doesn't win the match. However, he gives the fight of his life. This makes the movie even better because people can really appreciate that and say, yes, okay, there's no way in hell this washout can win this top boxing champion. But he tried, and people saw that and loved him for it. And maybe it's a chance to do something more with his life, even though in the beginning nobody believed in him. And I would love to be like him. This is the Glimmer of Truth in this movie. And even if we go to some of the campier sequels like Rocky 4, which is my favorite of the franchise, okay, I'm a basic guy. And yeah, it's campy compared to the somber, low-budget original Rocky. However, there is a glimmer of truth here. We have this aspect of Cold War, of propaganda, of jingoism, and how it corrupts everything, even sports. So we have this main character, Rocky, who is like, this is stupid. I'm not taking part in it. However, he has to go. He has to go there. He has to go far from safety, out of his safe place, into a hostile territory and fight to restore this pureness of boxing, of sports, to show the people that sports should unite us, not divide us. And yeah, that's something, a great glimmer of truth. That's something we want to have, especially nowadays. If we could get big mats and people would come together, it would be great. We need this. Let's go to some more examples, more classic movies. I mean, I'll speak about Ghostbusters, which is always a red flag on the internet. And the original movie was about four dudes who were starting a startup business. They had this crazy idea and no money, and they had to grind for it. And that's the core of a lot of the struggles within the movie. A lot of the challenges they face is not because of ghosts, it's because of they're starting a business and it's a crazy venture, and people are not ready to accept this. And the tape will get involved with that. They have vocal critics, but in the end, people understand that their business is something they need. Of course, it's a movie about funny people hunting ghosts with portable nuclear reactors. But the heart of the story is their small business. And this is why none of the sequels is a classic, even though a lot of them involved those funny people. And yeah, that includes the remake, but that's something that will come up later in this video. Alright, so stay close. I mean, Ghostbusters 2 was not that great of a movie. Afterlife actually did have something of a glimmer of truth. This whole concept of being burdened by what your family did and finally understanding it and embracing it. That was a great set of glass in the story, and it involved a lot of the characters in that one. I like the movie. However, this is not exactly a glimmer of truth. It's not something many people have felt. So, yeah, it was a decent movie, very fun to watch. It had this element, but it's not exactly a glimmer of truth definition. Maybe some people who have felt that would appreciate it a lot. I mean, let's go to other controversial franchise everybody knows, like Harry Potter. And Harry Potter is about being whisked away into a magic world where miracles happen and you're special. Not only you're a magician Harry, you are the chosen one, the boy that lived. And yeah, this is the dream of every child. Being whisked in a magic world and being special. And I bet that some of you watching this video still expect your letter from Hogwarts, despite being grown as adults. So you know this glimmer of truth does exist. There is a whole other plot point about Voldemort and Death Eaters and Snape, which is actually another glimmer of truth. I guess it has. Snape is very popular because he's the antithesis of Harry. He is the one that people never thought was special. And he had to go to a lot of struggles without magic solutions, I guess. But yeah, it also reminds them of the very strict teacher they had, which may or may not have been evil. And Alan Rickman played Snape, so yeah. I mean, Harry Potter has a lot of that, alright? It's a classic for a reason. But at the core, it's this fantasy of being the chosen one in magic school. Alright, Glimmer of Truth does not have to be center stage in a work to work, or the main theme. It can be a plot point that people will resonate to, or a character. For instance, if we get Neil Gaiman's Sandman, the graphic novel series, we have Death. And Death is definitely the most popular character in the franchise, and the one people do remember. And let's be honest, we will all die one day. Hopefully very far from day, alright? Hopefully in the long future. But just the idea of being taken away on our last trip, on our trip to the beyond, by a cheerful and empathetic goth girl is appealing to us, instead of, a cold skeleton with a scythe. Especially if he does not have dry humor, like in this world. That's another glimmer of truth, the cold, sardonic death. That's something we understand. And once he's done right, like in this Discworld series, it will resonate with us. A glimmer of truth doesn't have to be an element that nobody is doing but you. It can actually be a trope, and a very typical trope on a genre. For instance, in a slasher movie, the idea that somebody is trying to kill you for nothing you did is very frightening to everybody, because it breaks the law of cause and effect. I'm not being punished for doing something, even though a lot of horror movies did that after 7, but I'm being assaulted for nothing, even though I'm innocent. And this is why teens works a lot, because they are sort of innocent and not too triggering as if they were killing children, I guess. And this is why when you make a slasher and after, I don't know, 5 or 6 sequels, you come up with a retcon on why our serial killer is hunting our final girl, yeah, it's not always that well accepted. It's mostly never well accepted, actually. And I guess that the appeal of a lot of the dark romance is that women can have kinky sex and enjoy it while not exactly choosing it. So society won't look down on them. But what do I know? I'm a dumb guy, so if it rings true to the women in the audience, all three of you, uh, leave a comment below if you agree or disagree. However, as with the dark romance, I guess, the Glimmer of Truth is a two-edged sword. Because if it's controversial, you will get a controversial work. People will react to it in different ways. I mean, I mentioned Ghostbusters, so let's go to the elephant in the room, Ghostbusters 2016. At first glance, it's the same as the original. It's funny people, and more funny people because Chris Hemsworth is just hilarious in this movie too. So 5 funny people instead of 4 who hunt ghosts with portable nuclear reactors. Only instead of, unlike the original, they also had an idiot director who just threw the actors in the set and let them improvise instead of, letting them write the script and make the movie. Yeah, I know. I mean, I watched Ghostbusters 2016 when it came out. I went to the movies because some female friends of mine wanted to ogle at Chris Hemsworth because that's what women really want. And I was bored out of my mind back then because I was in Athens in July, so there's nothing's happening here. And I was curious because of all this outrage on the internet. And by the end of the movie, we went out and were like, yeah, it was not great. A lot of the jokes fell flat, and the third act was kind of atrocious, and we all agreed it was a forgettable movie and never talked about it again. However, this movie has 2 glimmers of truth in it, I believe. One of them is that we have, in the third act, we have those non-top model looking women that are kicking ass, and I know that a lot of women that watch this movie felt good about it, which is a great glimmer of truth. The fantasy that I don't have to wear high heels and be a Victoria's Angel's model to be part of a big action scene. But the other glimmer of truth was that men are idiots that can do nothing good, and they want to keep women down. And as you can guess, yes, some people loved this movie, others did not. And it was very controversial, and we mostly remember this forgettable movie because of this controversy, because of its glimmers of truth. Now let's get to better movies that were controversial, like, for instance, The Joker. Movies like The Joker and Parasites have won audiences because they addressed the ever-growing divide between the rich and every other person in society in ways that Hollywood seems to avoid for years and years now. And I think the reason they resonated, they became popular, is because a lot of people did want to kill rich people. They do want to. They feel outraged, and this is a fantasy of theirs. I'm not saying you should kill rich people, alright? I'm not the kind of guy, I'm not a kill the rich guy. In fact, don't kill anybody. Alright? Don't kill someone. But yeah, this idea definitely caught up to people, and that's why they were successful movies. And unlike Parasites, because let's be honest, people watch superhero movies. They don't watch foreign films. There was a lot of outrage because of the politics. A lot of people were very vocal against the Joker because of its politics. And I'm pretty sure that it was the scene where the TV persona is getting shot that creates a divide to a lot of people. They want to take vengeance against the mouthpieces of the elite and how it ruins their lives, how the system of media and the rich are letting people in the streets with no care. It all happens because our hero is definitely emotionally, well, he's not a hero. Arthur Fleck is not our hero exactly. But our main character is clearly emotionally distressed, and nobody cares about him. This is why everything starts, and you really want to shoot the annoying Yapis, you really want to shoot the smug TV persona who is part of the elite and makes a career out of laughing at you, at your failures. However, I'm pretty sure that people in the media saw this scene and were like, that's not good, I don't like this. That's their greatest fear, being avenged by the common people for doing their job or giving them what they want. So I guess that's why there were so many articles about the Joker, despite the movie making $1 million in tickets and being well beloved. Alright, the elephant in the room also is that a lot of modern Hollywood movies, they feel sterile and forgettable because they are constantly micromanaged, they are made by committees, and this makes the glimmers of truth go away. They get erased in the process. I mean, let's take the Disney Star Wars, the trilogy, as an example for that. If you watch The Force Awakens and Rise of the Skywalker, they are movies that they are so pre-made, there is not a glimmer of truth in there. It's just the tropes, it's just the people filling in the blanks, right? You know, the only appealing aspect to the Disney movies is actually the Raylo ship, and it's mostly people projecting their desire for it into the movie instead of the movie creating that. It's this case of the audience projecting a glimmer of truth on the movie because they want to be engaged, and there's nothing engaging in the movie. However, there is one movie that has a glimmer of truth, and that's The Last Jedi. And the glimmer of truth is, war is bad, everybody's an asshole. And let me tell you what, I agree with that. But if I go and watch a Star Wars movie, it's not the glimmer of truth I want to see. It's highly not the right one. That's probably the reason why this movie is so controversial. Probably broke the franchise, I guess. It broke the franchise more than how boring the other two movies were. So yes, that was my Glimmer of Truth theory. I hope this was a helpful video to all creatives out there, writers, screenwriters, directors, comic artists, I guess even painters. Make sure to put a glimmer of truth in there, something that people can understand and realize. That's why a lot of movies had a shoehorned love story in them, because people could understand that. So there was something for everyone, I guess. But yeah, try to find this thing that people can resonate with. And if your work is not quite working, and it happened to me recently a couple of years ago, it's probably because the glimmer of truth is not quite there yet, and you have to dig for it and maybe put it more in a better way. And I guess this will make your work better. It may not be an enduring piece of fiction, because sometimes it's because of luck. There's so many movies out there, and we only talked about 5 or 6 of them that everybody knows. So that's proof that the glimmer of truth is not always there. But if the glimmer of truth is there, even if it's not exactly what people want to see, this movie will stay relevant. It will resonate with people, even if it does that badly. You may not want to get it to resonate badly, I guess. But yeah, if you found this video helpful, hit the like button, leave a comment, share this video so it helps other people, and I'll see you soon. Thank you for watching.